Good afternoon, Richland College. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another installment of the Philosophy Club Radio Hour. And we're listening to KDUX Web Radio, broadcast live from Richland College in Dallas, Texas. We are the voice of Richland College. Views expressed on this show are our own, unless otherwise stated, and do not reflect the opinion of KDUX Web Radio, Richland College, or the DCCCD. Woo, ladies and gentlemen, what a day it's been.
What a day.
What a day indeed.
First and foremost, let me just shout this out right from the get-go. In Sabine Hall, that's SH-118, the Philosophy Undergraduate Student Conference is happening as we speak. I have just come directly therefrom, as have some of my colleagues and students here. And I must say, it has been quite awesome. It's been fantastic. There have been some great presentations. So yeah, you would agree then. There were some that were really standouts, and I think a lot of them were standouts, frankly.
Yeah, I thought they were really good. I thought the little skit that ethics students put together was really good, and also Brian's presentation was awesome.
It was electric.
Exactly, and also like
pretty steamy.
And also Maddie and Eric's presentations about loss of innocence were like really insightful, and I thought they were like well thought and well written. They were really great, and I just am impressed.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm so I'm impressed with all the presentations, but. Yeah, seeing the students that I'm teaching this semester up there and really shining, it's unbelievable. It's a great thing to witness. It's a beautiful thing. And so, of course, I highly recommend you all go out there right now to 118. But, of course, not before you're done listening to this program. Anyhow, I was thinking it would have been cool if we could have somehow done like a live podcast from the conference. But I guess
that would have been awesome.
Had to be in here?
Yeah. So I think we should have had the conference like right out in that hallway.
Or like we could have like recorded it, and then you guys could have like go ahead and then put it on your YouTube channel.
Yeah, can we do that thing where we should have recorded the whole conference and then did us commentating on the conference?
That would have been
cool. And uploading that. That would have been funny. But yeah, so welcome back, y'all. This is, again, the Philosophy Club Radio Hour. It's an extension of the Philosophy Club. The Philosophy Club meets every Tuesday from 2 to 3, generally in room EO76, occasionally in EO12. This past week, so yesterday's was in EO12. And the topic of which was, I would say, a pretty popular one and kind of a change of pace. The topic is friendship. Prior to this week, the last few weeks, we've been hitting some pretty heavy topics: suicide, sanity, inherent, violence in human nature. And so friendship is kind of, it's going in a somewhat different direction. And yeah, I think everybody, the thing I like about this, and I mentioned this yesterday, everybody has an opinion on friendship. Even if you've never sat down and studied theories on friendship, you have your opinions of what a good friend is, what a poor friend is. If you're a good friend to whom versus a better friend to someone else. So I think
I'm a good friend. I'm the greatest friend.
I'm the best friend.
I don't think so. He's
the best friend.
Well, if we have two people who are refuting you, like, how bad of a friend are you?
They're the bad friends, not me.
I said I was the best friend.
Y'all are great people. I just compliment them. They just insult me.
Oh.
I'll say this, and I think I mentioned this the last time we talked about friendship, is I took a class in college called Love and Friendship. That was It was an upper-level philosophy class. I took it with 3 of my best friends, and by the time the class was over, we realized that we weren't friends with each other. We didn't have any real friendships.
That's really dark.
Yeah,
Sorry.
The truth hurts sometimes. At any rate, I hope you all are doing well out there, Scott, Ed, Mike. Anyways.
Ryo, shout out. Nikolai, shout out.
Yeah, shout out.
Shout out.
Shout out Tesla.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out to the old team there.
And Jess, shout out.
I don't have friends.
Kaya, come
shout
on,
out Mario.
I have my friends beside me. I don't need to shout out to anyone.
Hey!
Shout out Uche.
Nice. Oh, that was so sweet.
I want to shout out something else as well. Yesterday, the Philosophy Club partook in, or participated, I should say, in what's called Fresh Check Day. It was put on by Counseling Services here on campus. It was over in East Breezeway, where it was. It's a day designed to remind the students, especially because it's college-centric, considering we hosted it, to be aware of the effects of high-stress situations. And so mental illness, mental health, things along these lines, alleviating the negative stigma and providing people with resources, with opportunities for addressing it and maybe mitigating it. Again, we're hitting a really busy time of the semester, and the fact that it gets dark at 5 p.m. nowadays doesn't help matters. So the Philosophy Club's participation specifically was to sponsor a stop in and chill out booth. So we were specifically advocating for the importance of
Bless you.
decompressing. Bless you.
Thank you.
For the importance of taking time out for oneself and just not working on something and maybe distracting yourself in a way that is, low-key fun. So we had adult coloring books. We had we were playing classical music. We had a lava lamp, a jigsaw puzzle, beanbag chair. Where are the beanbag chairs, by the way?
Somebody
They're in
stole
my
them.
house. They were mine. I thought they were mine.
I saw someone dragging it across the campus.
It was me.
That was
No, it was somebody else.
It was me.
That was
No,
no,
that
that's
wasn't
Julio.
you. I
That's Julio.
swear, there was
They're
somebody
in
else.
my house.
They were
It
definitely
was a
in his
silver
car.
one.
He said
He means Julio. When Julio and I took him from the office.
Someone stole them these leaves.
They were definitely in Uche's car.
Julio is in the trunk of Uche's car.
Oh.
I
Yes.
think there are many people out there who are considering Siri as their friend. I've heard them talking to her.
Considering who?
Siri.
Siri? They're
Oh, Siri.
Goodness.
Look,
Siri's
there's
a good
something to
friend
be
of mine.
said about
Ah,
having artificial
Siri.
intelligence as friends, okay?
some
Very
people-
intelligent.
Like the movie Her.
perhaps.
Shout out Her.
Oh, yeah,
Not
exactly.
gonna.
Wow, I don't know what just happened, but
If you don't have friends, you have Siri.
have you ever had an experience
You
where
have to have an iPhone as well.
your ear pops?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The left headphone in these headphones has been out forever, and it just popped back on.
That's cool.
It was crazy. Okay, now I got you guys in
Siri did
surround
it.
sound. All
See,
right,
the
so
headphones are your friend.
They love you.
let's make introductions and then and dig our teeth into this. Who do we got back there?
It's your boy, Young Sun Tzu, author to the Art of War, a.k.a. Alexander the Great,
I like it.
God King, a.k.a. Orville Rettenbacher, a.k.a. Uncle Jemima.
Uncle Jemima, that was
Nice
nice.
pancakes.
I love it.
What's up, Uncle?
My name is. I'm legitimately all four of the Black Eyed Peas.
No.
Name them.
You're the bass, the vocal,
I'm
and
all
everything.
four of them.
Name them.
Okay, yeah, I named them.
I don't want to talk about myself like that. It's pretty personal.
He's not
You're
gonna objectify
talk
himself,
about
guys.
your
It's
name.
pretty personal. Sorry, guys. But just know that I am the Black Eyed Peas.
Glad to have you, Fergie.
No problem.
Hi, my name is Aisha Girl.
Oh, okay.
Jesus.
And I'm the Queen of England.
What's your name?
What?
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth what?
Fine.
Oh,
Maybe-
and then
maybe-
they weren't.
Maybe
Yeah, I
she's-
wasn't kidding. I identify
yes.
as the Black Eyed Peas.
It's funny how you sound like Keanu Reeves from the last radio show.
Nah, I don't. I know of that guy. He's pretty good. Pretty good actor.
Oh yeah, that's right. I am noticing some resemblances between Keanu Reeves from last time and the 4-in-1 or the 4 people, 4-in-1 person, the
4-in-1.
Black Eyed Peas, the Black Eyed Pea Pods. Pod
Don't ever talk about me like that again.
triggered, hardcore. I'm Professor Manzine, the faculty advisor of the Philosophy Club, and who I got to my right here?
Hello, everyone. Today we have a very special guest.
God.
I won't let you keep waiting for that, so let me speak who he is. He is the Bruce Wayne, the Dark Knight, the Batman. And if you want to prove,
Batman.
he's a person who's always working out. Do you want to see the proof? Look at these hands.
Those are so
You
soft.
see,
I thought you
you
were take off
see
his shirt.
the cuts?
I thought you were gonna take off your shirt too.
I thought I was gonna be like, look at these
Do you and
guns.
Flex, bro?
Get over it. I was joking.
Good
No,
job.
it's not.
Oh, really?
Why are we clapping?
Because Ali's the man.
He's
Ali's
the man.
It's Bruce Wayne, man.
We've got a superhero. We've got a musical group,
Mhm.
and
A
we've got a
monarch.
queen. We've got royalty, and we've got
We've got
and we've got
a syrup.
an uncle. we got a syrup.
And an
And,
author, by the way.
yeah.
Syrup and
Sun
author.
Tzu, hello.
This
Popcorn
radio
maker.
show has really reached new heights with the kind of the quality
And
of
then we
guests.
have
Well,
Aisha Girl.
Yeah, thanks for forgetting me.
She's from Turkey.
Wow, it's so relevant.
Yeah, Thanksgiving's coming up, guys.
Yeah.
All right, let's
Let's get the
Let's-
show on the road.
let's get this. Let's take the show on tour. Let's get the show on the road.
I do not play bass.
Friendship. I actually do play bass. Friendship.
It's magic.
Well, guys, we're all going to take a journey on this radio show.
Okay.
We're going to board a ship. A friendship.
Set sail.
Set
God.
sail for truth.
I already find holes in it and sinking.
What do y'all think about friendships? Let me ask you guys a more pointed question. When did you realize that somebody was your friend, and when did you realize you were somebody's friend?
I was sitting in the classroom. It was the first day of first grade. And then this girl came up to me and she sat right next to me. And then we've been best friends ever since. She's still my friend. And I realized that she's my best friend when we were in second grade, when she shared her lunch with me.
It's pretty
That's
easy
amazing.
to be
That's
your best friend.
something to
Actually.
live by. Like, you know, people share
Yeah,
food
just
with you
share
and you're,
food
they're
with you, yeah.
they're your life
I
partner.
know. So, yeah.
I realized I had my first friend. His name was August. It was like in kindergarten.
Was that
And
in
he walked-
August?
No, his name was August. And he walked up
Augustus.
to me and he was like, "Do you want to be my friend?" I was like, "Yeah, man." And then we were friends.
Was that it?
It was legitimately. That was the first time someone asked me
He
to be their
didn't give
friend.
you, like, half of his food.
Did you know what a friend
Oh.
meant?
Yeah, I knew what a friend meant. was
I
like,
didn't know
"Dang,
what a
that's
friend
cool."
meant until like after 8th grade, because oh god, the rest of my life it was just playing with people, like, you know, just having playmates, but I'd never really were their friends
Oh.
until like 8th grade. No, it's not sad, it's funny.
Oh, okay.
Then in 8th grade I
Yeah, remember her funny story from last week when she
Yeah.
got
Oh
beaten
yeah,
up?
okay, my life is funny, right? Even if it's full of tragedies. But like, I made friends with a couple of girls, and I realized that they were just leeches, you know, the
Aw.
people who just stick to you and leech your blood life.
Ugh.
And 9th grade was awesome because I actually made real friends. And then I was like, oh, friends are someone who care about you and don't
Ones we
just stick
can
around for
depend
food.
on.
Okay, that's interesting. So for example, I mean,
Looking at you.
I don't think Fergie is really friends with the rest of the Black Eyed Peas because they all kind of leech off her.
Listen, man,
What is-
don't talk about me like that.
So what's the difference then between a playmate and a friend?
Well, I think the difference between a playmate is and a friend is like playmate.
Playmate
it's
of the
like-
year.
It's like after they've served their purpose, there's really no need for them. A friend has further usefulness. That sounds really bad, but friends
Yeah, I was gonna say.
have more than one purpose, I suppose. Like companionship or whatever, you know? Playmates, you just keep them around because they're fun at the time, you know?
I guess that's mostly what my life was.
So essentially, they're placeholders. You need to play handball or tennis ball with somebody, so they're around. So let's hang out together. And then once the game is over, they're like, "Hey, do you want to come chill with
And
me
you're like,
for
"No."
dinner?" You're just like, "No."
I don't
so
really
that's the
like
difference?
you. I just have fun playing with you.
terrible.
Well, I mean, okay, so it's like you said yesterday, Manzi, about how you gave the tag for the 3 types of friends there are.
Yeah. So that's
The
Aristotle.
playmates,
Yeah.
Aristotle. The playmates are your cashiers, and to be more than that would be you know.
I think the playmates would be the second type, where you're doing a project together, and the project could be the game. And once the game leaves, then y'all just go on separate ways.
Like classmates.
Okay, but doesn't a project like I don't know. What's
Go
that
on
word?
For a long time.
Yeah, like doesn't a project have usually a set amount of time, whereas if you're playing a game with this person, you could only play with them this one time, just like the cashier. You might only see the cashier one time.
Or like
or-
No,
a
but playmates,
baseball
you have
game.
playmates for like a long time. Like I had
Not
people who I was
necessarily.
friends with for a long time, and then after a few years, I just forgot about them.
I think before you call someone as your friend, that mostly these days we do all the time, that everyone we meet, we say that they are our friends, they basically are not. You have to spend a lot of time with a person in order to even call them a friend. It's not like you go to the cafe, if someone asks you, how are you doing today? You are just saying, yeah, I'm feeling sad. It doesn't make you a friend of that person. That's just the person you are interacting with.
Okay.
It's not a friend.
Yeah, it's small talk. You're being friendly, but you're not necessarily friends with that person. You wouldn't invite that person to your wedding or something. So for the listeners, what are the 3 levels of friendship as Aristotle understands them?
The first one would be an acquaintance, like a person that you make small talk with, a person that you're slightly acquainted with, where you talk to them basically to be polite, not being rude, and you just have small talk situation, like a person in an elevator or like a cashier.
Yeah, or even if you don't talk to
I
them,
think
you're not attacking them.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
And then the second one would be like a situation if it's a school project or y'all are working together on something and y'all have to be friendly for this short period of time. And after the reason that y'all are talking to each other, like the project ends, then y'all just go your separate ways. And then that's when the friendship ends. And then I think the third version would be when you have these projects. You're bonding during the time that y'all are working on these projects, and the project ends, but the friendship still continues, and you may go on to collaborate with each other in more projects just for the sake of spending time with each other, and then that would be the third and maybe highest tier of friendship.
Tiers of friendship.
Yeah, no, that's you articulated it perfectly.
I kind of have a question.
I have a question. What makes you think you can interrupt me?
I have a question, and I am the queen of England. I can do whatever I want.
You know
Right.
the Black Eyed Peas are here.
Shut up, what?
Fergie's the real queen.
Anyways, like the second type of friends, is it the same as fair weather friends? The ones who stick around for like good times and everything. The moment you hit a rough road, they're gone. They've taken the high road out of your life.
I would think so, because there's the only reason that, like a school project, the only reason that those people are friends is because they're kind of forced to be in the situation. They're basically forced to be. They were put into the groups, and the group is what's keeping them together. And for a fair weather friend, which I guess is a friend that sticks around for the good times, and then once things get rocky, they leave. I think that the project or the reason that they're together is a concept that they, like a project, like a school project. It's kind of like they're there for a specific reason. If that reason's gone, they're gone also. So I would consider a fair weather friend the same as a tier 2 friend.
I think we should accept this reality that this whole world is a fair weather friend zone, because everyone is attached to you for a reason. Yeah, it's in a case for a family, that's another thing. But for the whole world, if you're talking about, it's the whole game of the fair weather friend. It's not the other way around.
If someone is your true friend, it's kind of like they're your family too, because like they're not sticking around because there's a project or like you're having a good time, but they're there for the bad times just like your family. So in my understanding of friendship, if you consider them like your family and you can trust them, then they are your friends, like true friends.
But you cannot stay with them forever now, because people always leave except for the family. You're going to move, or either they're going to move. It never works that way.
Well, family leaves too,
But they keep, especially these days when we have all of our friends in our pockets basically at all the time. We still have
That's interesting,
have ways of connecting with people even if they're not in the same rooms or even the same states as us.
Yeah.
I think that people do keep people around for a reason, but the difference between a tier 3 friend or a tier 2 friend could be that instead of the project being something like a school assignment, that the other person is the project, and that they want to help better the person, and that's why they're with the friends. They're not with them for a certain reason. They're with them because because they are them, and they want to spend time with them. They enjoy their company, and they want to continue enjoying their company, even when times are rough. They push past that, or they try to overcome the situation for the betterment of the other person.
Are you supporting the idea of unconditional friendship?
I don't know, man. Don't hit me with questions like that out of hindsight.
Well, okay, but yeah, let's try to push that a bit. Yeah, unconditional friendship, because here's the thing. With those first two kinds of friends, I think conditions are clear, which is to say, again, it just the conditions between you and the cashier is that you need groceries, and so you need a grocery store, and so you need people to check you out. The cashier wants a job, so she needs customers to check out. So there's a mutually beneficial thing. You don't necessarily have to say, "Hey, I'm glad you're here, cashier," because otherwise, how would I get my groceries? But it's kind of understood, and so you're friendly. You have no reason to be mean to the cashier. And then in the second sense, the conditions are not one of, well, perhaps also one of necessity. In fact, so if you are, as Uche said, you're kind of just lumped together in the class. You can't pick your classmates, and now you have to do a group presentation, and so counts for a big chunk of your grade. You have to spend time with these people, and if a friendship develops, it usually develops as a result of talking about whatever the project or the assignment is. That's kind of the glue. That's the nucleus. And so those are very particular conditions. And when those conditions are removed, like, okay, we finished the project. I guess we all got C's. Great. There's no reason to come together, because the whole condition for your coming together in the first place was this project that has since concluded. But are there conditions for that highest form of friendship, which Aristotle refers to as a second self? I mean, why? Aristotle says, you maybe have one of these in your life, two of these in your life. That's pretty rare. are there any conditions for that? How do you pick that person?
I think there is no reality for an unconditional friendship because if there is not a reason, not a connection between the two people, they can never be friends. Like I moved to a new country and I have several friends in my own country, but due to the lack of interaction, the physical interaction, I am losing those friends. Although those were the best people I have ever met in my life. I'm not blaming them. It's that
Ouch, thank
distance
you.
and time that has elapsed it.
Yeah, and so again, I like that you added that in the end there. It's and first of all, I'm sorry, and hopefully you can make some
Fine.
new friends in a
I'm
philosophy
over
club.
it.
Jeez, that's okay. Whatever. I'm sorry.
But the point is this: I think you're not blaming your friends or yourself. It sounds like for the dissolution of the relationship because you understand that, conditions.
Things happen.
It's life, yeah, and we don't see each other. Why should we force it? We were friends because we saw each other regularly and we got along okay, and we have a similar, I don't know, sense of humor or something. But now that you are engaging in different worlds, different countries, different places, different experiences, you're not sharing any experiences anymore together, and so there seems less and less of an occasion to talk to your friends, perhaps.
I think maybe these days, now that technology has basically connected the world, I have a friend who she met a friend online and they became best friends online, and the situation kind of worked backwards where they were in different countries and they became friends over the internet, and then their friendship grew so much that they eventually went and met each other physically. So in your situation where it was y'all physically were around each other and then y'all left, you went to a different country, and now the internet's not working out as a good bridge of communication, so your friendship between these people weakened. Her situation is kind of exactly the opposite, where the friendship started online and then it grew so much online that she wanted to meet them in person. And then it's kind of like I think that kind of takes the necessity of it being physical. I think that takes it out of the criteria of making a friend. I would think that making a friend is more of like a mindset or an attitude of the other person, where you communicate. People communicate to express themselves, and you can kind of see it as like selling somebody or selling an idea, where you're communicating these things when you make the first impression and you're giving hints of yourself, and then a person might be attracted to that hint, and then they say, I want to be friends with this person because they think this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. It doesn't really matter on the physical basis. It doesn't matter geographical basis, but the thing that makes you a friend is more a mindset than anything else but that.
Okay, the thing you're saying is that
It's
is
really
I think
fascinating.
totally out of the loop from the normal point of view, because what I'm saying is that the ones who are interacting like that, it's a new experience for them, and that's also another reason for talking to each other on the internet. But for the people, I'm saying if you already have friends, the distance do plays an important role in ending it.
I think in your situation, like, I came from a different country, but my best friend is still back in there because we had the same, like, thoughts, ideas, or, like, same goals in life. But now that you're here, your life changed. So you're now onto some different projects, and they are not a part of your projects, or, like, they can't relate to it. So you don't have a lot in common now, and you don't talk to them as much. But whereas the ones met on internet, they found that connection, so they felt the need to, like, go meet them because they had the, like, same ideas or same thoughts, so they felt like they could be friends, I think.
It's like a likeness of mind, where they, even though that they weren't in the same community in the real world, they were in the same community of mindset. They were friends not because they were near each other, they were friends because they were similar.
Yeah. No, I think these are all excellent points. I really find it fascinating, this idea of distance friendships. I think this is kind of why Facebook was created, or at least this is how it's become used. I know when I joined Facebook, it was because I moved 3,100 miles away from my family, and I wanted to continue to see what they're up to without having to call them, like, constantly.
Nice.
And then have to go through the rigmarole of, okay, well, you called your aunt, how come you didn't call your uncle? Stuff like that. But the point is this: I find it really interesting that you can begin digitally as a digital friend and then come to a more concrete physical friendship through like-minded ideas or just similar interests.
So what I get from all of your point of views is that we all are a part of millennial generation, and we should move to the thinking of the like-minded individuals rather than staying in the past from where we are not anymore a part of.
I don't know. I think that's definitely a question. Because here's the other thing, guys. Can you qualify friendships? Which another way of saying, are there some kinds of friendships that are of an inherently superior quality than others? And if so, are the ones that are kind of lived in the flesh more typical of the higher quality friendships than the ones that you kind of live through digitally?
I would like to say one thing about the friendship. If, for example, if I have a good friend, the one thing we should always remember in a friendship is, even if you call that a best friend, that the two best friends will always know the limits they have to stay. I mean, they can communicate with each other 24/7, but they won't be doing that because they know the limits. If you even have a good friend, you should know that. That's called friendship, I think.
Yeah, that's I think that's a good point. You know the other person so well that you're secure in your relationship with the person. So it's not like, oh no, it's been 3 days, I better shoot this guy a text, or maybe he's moving on to another best friend. Something like that. But here's the thing, that does happen. Something we didn't really talk about, but we could have gotten into, is the deterioration of friendships. Again, because it seems as though, at least in the way we were putting it with Aristotle, that friendships will kind of end almost naturally. Like, okay, the project's over. Hope you have a nice life, and you can mean it, but that's kind of it. And it's not any sort of strife, or it's not any kind of difficult thing. But I think in reality, even when second tier kinds of friendships end, it's still painful. Like, look, personally, it's like I moved around all the time as a kid. I lived in so many different places. So I'd go to middle school, and then I go to a high school with different kids, and I go to another high school with different kids. So I became used to making friends and then having to give them up due to distance. And I know I look young and boyish, but this was before the internet was really a thing. So it wasn't, the only option was to call. And you get busy with other things in your life. You pick up other projects, as what's your name again? As Ashigal puts it. and so I think I like how you're approaching it, Ali, because you're kind of looking at it from the perspective of, well, how do friendships die? That might teach us something about how they become formed.
Because you are what is your community.
Yeah, you identify with your community.
Communities have been connected through the internet.
But who decides what your community is?
Mm-hmm.
Is that where
That's
you live?
you. That's where you come along.
Okay.
If you're not willing to participate with your community, you won't be ever a part of it.
Okay, but
And I think that's my problem. I'm not.
One of my men.
okay.
I think the problem with friendship dying is there's a priority of the way friends work, right? I know in the case of the example you gave with the friendship built over internet, it's just that they had enough common points that they actually wanted to meet. But then why did they need to meet? And that kind of brings up the question that maybe, just maybe, in communities, physical friendship, like meeting with someone, it has more priority than being friends with someone over the internet, like a long distance relationship. You wouldn't prefer a long distance relationship because for various reasons. Sorry, it's easier to communicate with someone standing in front of you. It's easier to communicate and help them if they're in front of you rather than them being over the internet.
I don't know if that's always the case.
I think. Okay.
Well,
Hey,
yeah, go ahead.
let me have to go.
Okay, I
kidding.
think nowadays we're moving towards meeting on internet more and more because we don't have time. Since people don't have time to go out.
I think it's very true.
Or I know a lot of people, they just come to class and they leave. So they don't have that time to meet new people and make friends. So they go on the internet and then they're like, okay, let's find a friend or let's find a girlfriend or a boyfriend. So it's I think just because of the time we're living in and the conditions, so that people need to go on the internet and find friends. Otherwise, they're going to be alone because they don't have time to make friends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and yet they feel like they ought to have friends. It seems like everybody's on agreement here, implicitly, that friends are a good thing, and you need them.
Okay.
And you need them to be happy.
Yes, they are.
Friendships
lost
are
the
like
sound of my left
plants. If you
headphone
don't
again.
nurture them, they'll die. I got that from The Sims. Anyway, on to
I love The Sims.
what you were. Thank you. On to what you were saying. I don't necessarily think that it's necessarily that everyone's too busy to make friends in real life. I think people have moved to making friends on social media because it's easier for them. They don't have to.
They have
Be
to.
vulnerable.
They don't have to not be vulnerable. But we had a topic about this.
We did.
They don't have to advertise themselves as hard, and they can hide behind the veil of, "Oh, I was on the internet. You don't understand the tone of what I was saying," and
And what's more, guys, I think that sometimes for a lot of people, it's easier to express themselves on the internet rather than face to face. They can take their time with what they're saying. They can pick the images they're using and the emoticons. It's very curated. It's so you're giving somebody. You're right. We did talk about this in a previous episode. Shout out season 2. We craft our presentation to people. Now you could say, well, you craft your presentation to people in
real
everyday
life.
life too, but when you're face to face with somebody,
It's harder to put a mask on.
I think that's exactly it. I think that's
like
true.
if you're wearing a devil worshiper shirt, you can't just be like, "I'm not a devil worshiper." Well, I mean, your statement is less credible. And back to what someone said about like long distance relationships. Long distance relationships and friendships are different because, well, like romantic relationships, because platonic relationships are easier to nurture in a way than a romantic relationship, because with romantic relationships there are certain like levels of intimacy or whatever that you have to, not have to, but I don't want to say should, but that you most of the time engage with your partner. So like it's harder to do
Like
to
what?
maintain.
Wish Brian was here.
Exactly. No, I think
Like
I think
sex?
you're right. Oh, I think Brian referred to it as coitus in his presentation.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but like it's harder to nurture a romantic relationship over a long distance because there are things that you can do. I mean, in a romantic relationship that you can't do platonically with friends. You
I
know?
think that's true. I think it does seem to be the case. But here's the thing. I mean, can you say the other way as well, that there are some things you got to do with just your friends? And it's you again, like a boys' night out or something along these lines. Like I got to be with my buddies.
I think the crux is that we have to accept what we have and move on. Get over it.
Okay.
You cannot get what you want. That's the truth. And I think very few people are willing to realize it. They are just okay with what they have.
Yes.
But you have to speak the truth. If you're not okay, you should speak that out.
Yeah, and to all of Ali's friends in his native land, get over it. It's over.
Well, I mean,
Move on.
Get a life.
I won't quit.
If you subscribe to that, then it seems like that you're being complacent, and that like kills ambition.
Ah, that's interesting. But what of the idea that you can pick up where you left off
Well,
2
I
years
mean,
later with somebody?
me with my best friend,
You're
he
not
goes
the same
to.
person.
That's interesting.
What?
But
You can't. Sorry, you can't really. You can't. Sorry for
That's
cutting-
dead air, people.
I think it's going to be fine. You're going to get along very well. It's the time and distance that's the main problem.
I don't necessarily
Yeah.
agree with that. We've been talking about physical. I think the big conversation points have been physical versus technological friendships, and
Yeah.
which one should be prioritized or which one is more emphasized over the other. I think that friendship happens in the mind. But I think that because we are social animals, that it's a lot easier for us to make friends with people who are physically near us. It's not normal for us to have phones in our hands. It's not something that a person is born expecting.
I think
I
that's
People
would
are born
disagree with
expect-
that.
I think from
You're
your
expected to have an iPhone.
No. Something else you were saying. Like you were saying that you should you were saying that people should prioritize friends in their radius or whatever. But I was disagreeing with that because I feel like people tend more to their technological friendships because it's more convenient.
Yeah, you're
Like,
right.
You met this person online, so hey, I'm gonna shoot this person a text or whatever.
Okay.
All right.
I
mean-
think from the
it's more
Uche's point of
convenient.
that makes
view,
sense to me.
I think from the Uche's point of view, I have a counter argument, and that is that people do change. The way you are in a community, you will be changed based on that. But your nature will always remain the same. So by connecting with the people in the past that you think you won't be able to communicate anymore, That's not the thing. Your nature is still the same, and you will get along with those people that you have been in the past.
Yeah, but it seems like we're overstepping something kind of significant. Have you ever tried to be friends with people and they just weren't interested?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No. Everybody always wants to be Anthony's friend.
Yes.
I just didn't want to
guess.
be anybody's friend.
Okay. Let me say this. In high school,
Sun Tzu.
Oh, excuse me, Sun Tzu.
in high school, I remember I went to Indian school in Saudi Arabia, and in high school, I remember there used to be all these groups of maybe from one state, kids from one state, and then kids from another state, and kids who spoke the same language. And there are a lot of languages in India, just saying. So I managed to somehow be friends with everybody. I was really good at that. At least everybody knew me somehow. I hope I wasn't infamous, but yeah.
Hey, there's that albatross nest.
Oh God, don't bring that up again. So at one point I realized that when there was this girl who honestly I could tell she did not like me. Whenever I saw her,
She's sitting right next to you.
no,
That was me.
yeah, no, but you're not Indian though.
Yes, she is.
Yes, you could be.
She's from Turkey, but
at
she
one
went to
point
India.
I went and talked to her. She's like, hey, I was like, wait, hey girl, what's up? Why don't you like me? She's like, I don't like your accent. I'm like,
Nice.
nice. I had the same accent I had right now since then. In an Indian school, it's very weird. It comes off as snobbish. That's why she didn't like me.
How dare you?
Okay, that's interesting.
Sorry, Haya.
It's I didn't like her either.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's sad. See,
More
Ali, it could get
tragedies.
worse, Ali. I think, well, actually, Uncle Jemima, you had said that you were going to go into something about you and your best friend.
Oh yeah, me and my best friend. We used to hang out all the time in high school, and now we're both busy. He goes to UTD. He works with Amazon. I come here from A&M Commerce. I'm about to transfer back.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, cool.
I told you I was transfer. I've told it in the group.
I don't
chat.
listen to what you say.
Okay.
No, please keep going.
No, but yeah, we barely ever talk because he has his priorities and I have mine. But like, anytime we do, we pick up where we left off. Like you said, the idea of picking up where you left off, and it's a tier 3 friendship.
Yeah, it's totally organic.
It's like, yeah,
but what happens when you go to pick up where you left off, and he's like, hey.
I don't like you
Anthony,
anymore.
Or hey Anthony, let me introduce you to my buddy, Tony, Uncle Margarine. I don't know.
Well, Uncle Jemima is gonna go hunting tonight.
he literally always introduces me to his friends that he hangs out with all the time, and it's always just like, oh yeah, they're good friends, but he doesn't always want them around. Like,
And he's looking at them like, yeah, you're not his number one.
no, yeah. I mean, that's kind of how it is. I'm just like, whatever. No, I'm not jealous or anything. I'm just like, whatever.
you are.
Let's say go.
I'm definitely not
You
jealous.
seem jealous.
I'm definitely not jealous.
Yes, you are. Don't lie.
No, literally, he like
Friends
tells
don't
me all
lie.
he tells me all this stuff about them,
Mouth
about
breather.
all the like bad stuff that they do. Well, not
What's
bad
his
stuff.
name? First and last?
Yeah, my friend Nick.
I think it's a matter of
NICH.
individualism and collectivism culture. From where I am, it's a collectivism culture, and we cannot even imagine of having a sort of friendship that we have in another, because that's a different culture. So if you're always comparing it with that, yeah, you won't get that. But being here, you have to try at least to make friends.
Well, yeah, and
Yeah.
we're
He
always
says
on the same-
regretfully.
We're all on the same. We're both on
Same
the same
journey.
wavelength.
Yeah.
Like we're best friends or whatever. And like, he's always like, I'm sorry, I'm rambling about this.
No, I like this. Keep
It's
going.
just like, anytime he says something like that's supposedly secret, he's like, how, when someone says they won't tell anyone, that excludes their best friend. Well, here's this,
Yeah. And so there are signs that you continue to give one another to let y'all
trust
know.
or sharing bonds and stuff.
Yeah, affirming the relationship.
But that comes from being in the mindset, as someone
Yeah.
said. You have to both be in the mindset and
You're
know
similar
where
mentally.
you stand to each other.
Yeah.
Communication.
So we should celebrate this.
Shout out
fact
cell
that
phones.
We have to assimilate with all the foreigners around us, because we ourselves are a foreigner. And instead of crying on it, we should celebrate it. That it's a good thing.
But you can't, okay, that's fair, and I like that. I like how you put it too.
Mhm.
But you can't be friends with everybody logically.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
How do you decide who is worthy of your friendship?
I think it's
you
something
can judge
natural.
that based on their
I think it is too.
personalities. Sometimes people are not consistent, but it's not like it's not a dark world out there. There are people out there, man. Come on.
I th-
Okay,
go ahead.
go.
Go
No,
ahead.
go.
Go ahead.
I'm going
will ask
first,
you a
man.
question. Go.
Go.
Okay, what if you consider someone your best friend but they don't?
Yeah.
Well, that's I was gonna say that's what I was saying.
does
Like
that?
you have to both be in the same mindset. You have to kind of communicate it, I guess. Like
Yeah.
you have to know where you stand to them, and they have to know where they stand to you. Like back in third grade or something, I considered this one kid my best friend. His name was JT. Shout out. Now he works
Shot
at Little
down.
Caesars and doesn't go to college. Who's laughing? No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding.
Don't you
But-
ever cross Uncle Jemima?
You are terrible.
No, but yeah, he was like, I don't know. We were like trying to trade Pokemon or something, and he was like, okay, so it was like one was like a legendary or something, and he was like, you're 2 for my 1 or something like that, and I was gonna give him 1 and then give him another, and then he was like, no, I don't trust you, and I was like, what do you mean you don't trust me? He was like, you can trust me, but I don't trust you, and I was like, what kind of bullshit is that?
Oh, censor.
That's funny.
You just broke my trust right now with that statement.
Yeah, it was just like, you know what, forget it, man. I mean, we didn't stop being friends over it, but I was just
But that was
like-
an issue.
That
because
was
you
an
thought we
issue. I
could
was just
trust-
like,
yeah.
you don't think you can trust me.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. Okay, so guys, just a shout out. It's 3 o'clock right now, and
Shout out
typically this is time for shout out to the Western Hemisphere and time itself. Typically, around now Rock Shop starts. We have been giving an additional 20 minutes because we started late on account of the philosophy student conference. Now I'm co-chairing this conference, so what's going to happen next is something students aren't aware of. I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave early, and so it's on them to host the remaining 15-20 minutes.
Okay.
Uche, I encourage you to come step into my seat, pal.
Hey man, I was trying to do it earlier, but
trying to take
were
the
you? In
place.
that case, never mind. So, guys, just to let you all know, the Philosophy Club will be meeting again, obviously, on Tuesday from 2 to 3 in EO 76. We're back to our home this time around. Topic to be determined. But if you're hearing this, give some support to the Philosophy Student Conference. It's been pretty incredible so far. But okay, guys, take care. Think about it, and I turn it over to my protege here, and all of his fake friends.
Bye, Professor Manzi.
Bye.
The real friends.
The real.
Hashtag
all
real
right.
friends.
So now it's time for the real professor to step on the air. Sorry guys, I know y'all have been waiting for this.
It's time to change this radio show into talking about drugs. Let's go.
Alright,
No,
calm down.
completely. But something I wanted to note on, and it's kind of touches on the technology and physical relationships. Is I feel like I said this before, but I feel like friendship is something that it's not something physical. It's not something tangible, and it's not something geographical. It's more of like a mindset. There's some friends that you just naturally click with, and I feel like that comes from just your personality. You can kind of see yourself in that friend, and in seeing yourself in that friend, you want the best for them the same way you want the best for yourself. So it's kind of like you feel the sense of community that doesn't stem from a geographical relationship, doesn't stem from from being family members with the relationship or family members with the person. It just stems from having a like mind as a person, and you want the best from them as you would yourself.
I think we should always trust our instincts, our gut, because our intuitions always tell us if we are meeting with a person, that person is right for us or not. There's no other way around. Sometimes our mind may play games and we think that that person is like a good fit for us, but that person isn't. And you have to trust your intuitions. You have to make yourself realize what's out there and what's right for you.
What about like a player, a guy that's putting on a front? Because I mean, it's easier for someone to pretend.
True that. I
True
got you.
that.
I
Yeah.
think
True that.
True that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True
I think
that.
Uche, the other yesterday we were talking about like I think I'm not sure who was talking about, but satisfying needs. Like if someone has, if someone has this need to appear strong or be strong, they would naturally be friends with someone who's weaker than them, or whenever that weak friend has maybe a nervous breakdown or needs advice, they rush to it. They rush towards giving them advice and appearing stronger than they actually are.
So in some instances, friends could be friends with people just for the sake of validating themselves in certain ways. Where if I'm friends with this person that's weak, and every 5 minutes I do something, I step in and I make myself feel even stronger, that it could be like even a self-satisfying or self.
But won't you be improving that person as well? Or is it still going to be considered as a negative thing? If you're doing that for the improvement of the other person, you're not doing it just for yourself. Or either you're not even thinking about yourself and thinking about the other person.
I don't think it's a negative relationship so far. I mean, it is there are genuine feelings from both parties, in the sense that the strong friend might actually want to help you out, and the weak friend might actually have some trouble talking. But in the sense, what is improvement? For example, if you have a friend who doesn't speak much in class and has trouble speaking up and has to say an answer, and you being the strong friend, when she has trouble speaking, you stand up and say her answer. You're not helping her. She needs to improve, but you're helping her out of that predicament. Is that still negative?
Well, I feel like it's validating yourself, because if you're the strong friend and okay, so say the strong friend.
I think it's a critical point of view.
Ollie, I'm turning off your mic.
Carry on.
Okay, so the strong friend is validating themselves because the weak friend shows their weakness all the time. They're not actually helping the weak friend become stronger. They're validating themselves. If the weak friend shows strength at one point or another, then the strong friend will be all confused and maybe try to denounce the weak friend.
Yeah.
Because she's not playing the role.
Because they're not. Yes, because they're not playing the role
correctly.
correctly.
It's like Mean Girls all over again. You
Stop
have
it.
that one clique.
Keep going, Aya. I approve.
When you have that one clique leader who's like the boss of everyone, has her own posse and everything, and then when the leader does something terrible, and one friend, one subordinate in her eyes, does something that might just be insubordinate, the leader herself would suddenly feel challenged, even though what she did, what her friend did, was good in a sense.
And I think that kind of touches on the necessity of the person wanting the best for their friend. In a situation like where the person sees them as an insubordinate, they don't want the best for their friend. They want their friend to perform their role the best. They want their friend to be the stupid one, or they want their friend to be the weak one so they can feel strong. They want them to be stupid so they can feel smart. They want them to do something so that they can get something in return. But in the case of a true friend, a friend would want the friend to act a certain way so that they themselves could feel or they could improve in the long run, instead of all of the success coming back to themselves.
But don't you think sometimes we get too critical on the simplest of the things, and we overthink too much? Like, there is positivity in things that we might not be able to see, but from that person's point of view, he might be doing it for a good reason. It's not always like doing it for their own self. They can be doing for others as well, but we aren't able to get them.
No, you misunderstand. It's not that everybody's doing it because they want to appear off as stronger. Sometimes it's just subconscious, right? It's subconscious in the sense that some people feel that they dominate other. Like, it's like in animals, right? When there's a pack leader, it's not like they chose. It's not like they know their. Wait, I got confused. Hold on. Let me think. Okay, yeah, all right. It's not obvious that they're doing it for a selfish reason. Sometimes it's
basically you can judge that. It's not like you're just making an observation. It's a factual thing. If someone is behaving in a way that you can tell by looking at that person that they are doing more for themselves than for others, right? I got you now.
I don't know.
That's not necessarily always the case, because if you're the weak friend per se, and you have this strong friend validating himself, all you see is, oh, he's helping me out. He's defending me in my times of need. Whereas he's only really doing it to validate himself. If that weak friend shows strength, then more than likely the strong friend will abandon him, even if the weak friend... Well, he would come back if the weak friend, bit off more than he can chew, per se. But, it would be just to validate themselves.
Yeah.
I don't think what we should. I think what we should talk about is how friendship ended. In a sense, it's not just.
Are you the president of the philosophy?
Shut up, okay? You're just like 3 people. I'm just one person. I'm the queen.
4 people. I'm the black
I'm the
eyed peas.
queen. I'm the freaking queen.
I'm the queen of
Anyways.
pop. Okay, go on, Haya.
So, but we should talk about how most friendship usually ends. It's not just because of distance and communities changing, priorities
That is true.
changing. It's also because of a change, right? If you if we gave the example of a strong and weak person, if the weak person started displaying, and I'm talking about a completely selfish
Haya.
reason.
I
No,
love
wait,
it.
shush.
I love it.
I'm
Go
talking
on.
about a completely selfish reason why the strong friend is being the friend of the weak person. I'm not talking about subconscious mind stuff. So if they notice that the weak person is starting to change and growing as a person, there's going to be a dissonance between them. And I feel like that's what creates a rift, and it's just going to break the friendship apart.
Uh-huh.
I think change is a really big reason why friendships don't last.
I think friendships don't last because there's oftentimes discord in friendships where people think that they're better or worse friends than they actually are, or like you might think you're someone's best friend, but they just go to you when they need something or to pass the time. They don't actually like I had an example. No, I don't. But yeah, they're just like there's not a communication, or it becomes less convenient to talk to that person when you start having to give effort and you're not willing to, or they're not willing to. The friendship sort of just dies or fizzles out,
Something that I do find interesting, and I think that this could help us decipher the geographical issue that
I'm
you
not a
proposed.
kid, bro.
That you proposed earlier. Even if people are friends because they live around each other, and maybe in your instance, the reason that a lot of your friendship stopped is because you moved away and that it was hard for you to keep in contact. Even if people are geographically near each other, friendships still end in that situation. Even in schools or high school where people see each other every day, friendships still end in those situations, even though they're physically near each other at all times. I think that it disproves the notion that people need to be near each other for the friendship to go along. I think that I stick to my decision that friendship is something that happens in the mindset, and when the mindset of a person that you consider your friend begins to change in a way that you find unattractive or displeasant, or unpleasant, then you no longer see yourself as a good friend for this person because they don't align with you anymore. They don't align with their personalities with your personality.
I'm gonna stick to my ideology. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, like in high school, you may have known a lot of people, and then you don't talk to them because you graduated or you changed classes. And when you graduate to college, that's like something like you don't realize how many people you were just friends with because you see them every day. Like it might, yes, it can play mindset can play a role. You're just like, oh, it's not convenient to be this person's friend anymore because I never talk to them because they're not in my jurisdiction anymore. I don't go to that class with and see them every morning anymore, so I shouldn't be their friend because it's too much work to talk to them. I'm busy.
I think, okay, like,
Sorry, go on.
if I have to give an example, I still am best friends with my friend that I met in first grade, and she's still in Turkey, and we talk every day.
Okay, don't make us jealous, all right? Not everybody has relationships like
Okay,
that.
but
I
no,
do.
what I'm saying is,
No,
like,
I don't.
Whatever I do for her, I don't feel like it's work.
Yeah.
But if I feel like, okay, I'm gonna give another example for a classmate. Let's say she asked me for help, and I would still help, but I would think like, oh my gosh, another
It's a
thing
chore.
to do. Yeah, like it's if you're putting an effort, and
sending this to all
if
your
you don't
classmates.
consider it, okay.
Continue.
And then if you don't consider it like, a lot of work and another thing you have to do, but if you think that it's like just I'm doing it because I'm doing it, then that's your friend. And I feel that way for my friend, and she's still in Turkey. Shout out to her. Her name is Ezra.
Oh, I love her. She's
Pretty
cool.
name.
I think
Yeah.
she's my best friend, actually.
No, you
Go
can't
on.
take her. from
Don't
me.
be jealous.
Anyway, so like back what Uche said about your mindset.
Who's Uche?
Like
Black
mindset
Eyed
is
Peas.
important, and
The
I think
president.
like if you share the same goals and same thoughts and same values, that I don't know. You can be
I
friends.
think you're right when you said this. The friendships only last when you have a whole lot of similarities
Yeah.
and interest.
I feel like if you have the same mindset, goals, and what'd you say?
values.
Values.
Yeah, you're actually right. I kind of changed my.
Okay, if
Yeah.
you have the same goals to a sense, I feel like you could that person would be a rival
Yeah.
because they like push you harder because you have the same end goal and you're like, "Oh, look, I'm going to get there first or whatever or I'm doing it better."
Like by goals, I mean not like I'm gonna be this, I'm gonna be that, but like
We both want to be the
have,
best doctor in Turkey.
Yeah.
You know what?
We're not even studying.
I think we can make those like color wheel charts between values, goals, and not personalities, values, goals, and mindset, right? And then at the you know how color wheels
Yeah.
coincide, and at the center of it, it's black. No, I'm just joking. At the center of it, I think the one thing that would be family. Like value, goals, and mindset would be. Like I think
Like a
rival,
little Venn diagram.
yeah, like a Venn diagram, and then goals and mindset would be a friend.
I think
or anything between.
I think I would like to bring karma into this friendship thingy because
Thank you.
if you do good, you'll have good. It's no other way around. You have to give something to the people you want to be friends with. Otherwise, it's not gonna work.
Well, I mean,
Which-
you don't always get the friends that you want. Like you could really want to be someone's friend, but they might just not be into it.
Yeah.
Like with
Me and you.
Kaya.
Kaya. No, I'm the queen.
Like with-
Shush, queen.
Like with the Queen of England, how she had a snobby
Elizabeth.
accent to that one girl. she wanted to be her friend, but that she was having none of it.
Yeah, she's like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't like your accent. Okay, that's what she said.
Okay, that was pretty
triggered.
rude.
Triggered. Okay.
Okay, and I also
stereotypical.
think that friends are important. Okay, so you can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family.
True.
And also, so friends are important, and you should have friends. But okay, let's think about it. Some families suck. Okay, you can't
Yes.
change the fact that some families really do suck, but you can't change the fact that that's your father or that's your mother. But whereas with your friends, you could change them. You could just be like, man, this isn't like working out. I don't think we should be friends anymore, and you're done. So okay, yeah, I don't know why I said that.
That is
No,
true.
no, no.
but
Like,
sorry, can I say something? Really
go
quick?
go ahead.
I feel like that's true to an extent because some friendships after they're built on for so deep. I don't know if this works for you and your friend in Turkey that you made your best friend in Turkey that you made in first grade, but I don't know if you would consider her your sister or if you could even call her your sister. Some friendships go so far,
Yeah,
they go so
I
deep
do agree that. Yeah.
that it feels like they're legitimately pieces of your family, and that if you lost that person, you would treat it like you lost a family member. You'd be devastated the same way. Where it's kind of like, I wouldn't really draw a fine line between friends and family like that. Yes, biologically, obviously, we're not of the same DNA, but I think that the tying factor between two really good friends is the fact that y'all have experienced y'all have experienced so much together. Y'all are so similar. Y'all have the mindsets. Y'all just enjoy each other's company. That even though y'all are not biologically related, y'all feel like y'all are still family. You can call your friend brother or sister.
You're
Y'all
right.
still feel like you're family just
Yeah.
because you know each other that well.
I feel like in a lot of instances, friends know the person better than family do because,
Yeah.
like, with parents, there's a certain grade of like respect, kind of, to
And what
where
you can
wouldn't
tell
be.
them.
Well,
Bye, guys. I'm leaving.
okay.
It was fun.
Bye, Icicle. See you.
Bye, Shigo.
Bye.
I thought he said icicle.
He did say icicle.
That's her name.
Get wrecked.
Ice Mountain.
Well, okay, so it's
Antarctica.
like you have a certain respect for your family or like a fear kind of to where like you wouldn't tell them if you were to like rob a bank or
Yeah.
something, but you tell your homeboys that I'm kidding. you definitely tell you tell like your friends who are like into that kind of stuff. So like
Really?
no,
Who are you
like
friends with?
Who does that?
no, but like it'd be you know,
It's more acceptable
You-
to tell your
It's-
friends.
it's more acceptable to tell your friends because your friends are Oh,
They want you
yeah,
to,
man,
to
you're
do
crazy
that.
or whatever. But your parents would be like, "Oh, is that how we raised you?"
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Or like, I guess you could tell a sibling, but I feel like you'd be more afraid that they would tell your parents, or they'd like use it as blackmail. You know?
I think like there, there's a quote, that proverb that goes like, "Blood is thicker than water."
Yeah.
But I recently read an article about that. The full proverb is actually the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb, and I like to discuss about what it actually means. It means that the blood of the friends you make, like right, the blood spilled between the friends you make is thicker than of familial bonds, right? Because that's what you experience together. There's something that you would not tell your parents, but you'd be okay telling your friends.
Shout out Julius Caesar. You got
Yeah,
stabbed in the
no,
back.
Julius Caesar is just sad.
Shout out
Mark
assassinations.
Antony was good.
Shout out stabs in the backs.
Shout
12
out
times.
Assassin's Creed. Shout
12
out Ubisoft.
Terrible. Okay,
Thank you,
guys,
Bouquet.
we're actually out of time. It's been beautiful. We're good friends here, right, Ali?
No.
Right, Haya. I mean Queen Elizabeth.
Yes, we are.
Bruce Wayne.
Wait, hold on. At the end of the whole session, we are going to have like a whole concert by the Black Eyed Peas. So
Definitely.
give them a hand.
Hey, we didn't sign up for this. I'm sorry, but don't ever talk to us again. We hate England. Okay, and see you, Susie.
Sun Tzu.
Sun Tzu,
Okay,
Uncle
nice.
Jemima.
Read my new book, The Art of War.
Beautiful. Some
How many
announcements. Philosophy Club will be having a fundraiser November 17th. It'll be taking place. It's a Friday. It'll be taking place in El Paso Hall and Wichita Hall. We will be selling popcorn, pizza, sodas, and Philosophy Club T-shirts. Come
Get 'em
pick
while
them
they're
up.
hot.
They're
How much are the
$10.
pizza?
How
The
much
pizza
is
is
it?
$10.
It's a
Nice.
dollar for a
Pizza's
pizza.
$10 per box.
And also we have a movie showing going on the 28th.
The movie's called
in-
Melancholia.
It's called Melancholy. It's a nice movie.
Any famous actors? or
Me,
actresses?
I'm in it.
Yeah,
Nice.
we're in it. But it's a great movie. We're gonna be showing that in Wichita 115.
Yes.
Wichita 115, November 28th. So tune in. Philosophy Club is doing a lot of things in this month of November. It's quality.
Shout out Macedonia.
Shout out Macedonia. And lastly, you are listening to KDUX Web Radio, broadcast live from Richland College in Dallas, Texas. We are the voice of Richland College. Views expressed on the show are my own, unless otherwise stated, and do not reflect the opinion of KDUX Radio, Richland College, or the DCCD, period, point blank. Think about it.
Follow us
Think
on
about
Twitter.
it.
Follow us
God
on
save the
Facebook.
Queen. Thank you.
Follow us on Twitter and
Bye-bye.
Facebook at Richland Philosophy Club. We out.